Good morning. It's Monday, February 27, 2017, 9 a.m. This is Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is to review the agenda. Move to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Item number 3 is to receive comments from the public. Is there anyone here wishing to address the board on an issue that is not currently listed on the agenda? If so, please step to the podium, state your name and issue. Seeing no one come forward, we'll move on to item number 4, discussion of possible action to approve claims dated February 27, 2017 in the amount of $272,760.65.
So moved.
A motion by Bob.
Second.
Second by Scott. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Item number 5 is public hearing on the proposed fiscal year 2017-18 Muscatine County budget. So we're in a public hearing. If anyone would like to make comments, I would make a general statement on the budget. After our action on the mental health levy at the end of the last meeting, a summary will be our general supplemental levy is up 20 cents per thousand. The mental health levy is going down 14 cents, and our debt service is going down 12 cents. So our net urban levy will go down 6 cents. The board recalls we chose to reduce our mental health levy to send a message to the state to fix the funding problem, so we don't continue to send Muscatine County dollars to support Scott County constituents. Any other comments on the budget?
Move to close public hearing.
Motion by Bob,
Second.
second by Matt. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, it's a roll call vote. Thank you, Bob. Bob?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
And I vote aye. Next is discussion of possible action to approve resolution 02-27-1701, approving the fiscal year 17-18 elected office officials' salaries. We have a motion.
I'll move to approve.
Motion by Scott,
Second.
second by Matt. Any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Scott? Aye. Matt?
Aye.
I vote aye. Nathan?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is discussion of possible action to approve resolution 02-27-1702, adopting the fiscal year 2017-18 county budget.
So moved.
Motion by Bob.
Second.
Second by Scott. Any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Bob?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries. Item number 6 is a public hearing on a request from the Christian Life of Muscatine Church by Pastor Stephen Brown to rezone approximately 1.16 acres of property located at 2921 Highway 22 in Sweetland Township from C1 commercial to R1 residential. This is a public hearing. Morning, Eric.
Morning. I don't see anybody in attendance from the church. It's my understanding Pastor Brown was going to be here. However, at the board's discretion, we want to go ahead with the public hearing on that. The background was the zoning commission on February 3rd voted unanimously to recommend this rezoning to the Board of Supervisors. This was the old Eagles Lodge on Highway 22 that was zoned C1 commercial previously. When the church purchased the property in mid-December of 2016, they apparently weren't aware of the zoning or aware that the commercial zoning in Muscatine County didn't allow for the operation of a church. So we looked at the site and realized that it actually was a very small spot of commercial zoning in otherwise residential or agriculturally zoned areas. And so to kind of clean up what I deem to be spot zoning, I recommended they rezone it back to residential, which will be in harmony with much of the surrounding uses and would then allow for the operation of a church at that site. They did so, and then the zoning commission recommended approval. This takes that site down to the permitted uses are much less intrusive than potential commercial uses. They would be allowed to operate their church there. They've done some remodeling. They're waiting on the rezoning so that they can start holding their services there.
Did you get a lot of feedback from the neighborhood association there?
We got nothing. A representative of HNI came out, who just owns the property across the road with Han Geneva. They had no objections whatsoever. They actually were quite optimistic that this use would be more in harmony with, again, with the surrounding area. So they had no concerns and voiced their support for this rezoning while they were here.
I just recalled a few years back, we had quite a controversy with that property, and the residents were pretty upset.
Well, there had been some issues with some operations in there, trying to run bars and restaurants, liquor license, and really this pretty much eliminates those issues going forward because it's not going to be zoned commercial if approved, and they'd be allowed, any potential future buyers would be much more limited on what could go into that site. It would just be limited to what's allowed in residential R1.
In your opinion, going back to commercial in the future would be a much more difficult task?
I would argue against it, and I believe our comprehensive plan would argue against that as well. Yes.
I mean, I'm all in favor of this, except I just note that our agenda, or our packet item states that we will not consider any requests unless the applicant or representative is present. Can we?
Well, they did have Mueller there based on what I see in the
We
paper.
got the zoning, but they didn't have it here. I don't think this board is held to that.
Yeah,
It depends.
I mean, there's nobody here to ask.
Right, unless if it's controversial, then
That's a problem.
typically they don't move forward, but if there's no issues, you're not obligated to hold to that.
I believe this board in the past, when there wasn't a representative, has taken action. It wasn't a controversial issue. Okay.
I'll reach out to them and try to ensure that they can be here for the second reading as well, so that if there's any questions, you want some face-to-face discussion, we'll try to make sure there's somebody here for that.
And I would move to close the public hearing.
I can. Before you do that, there was some interest, and that's why I was really hoping they would be here, in them requesting a waiving of the third and final reading. They can make that request if I can get them here for the second one, simply because they are done with their remodeling, from what I understand, and they've been leasing another site to hold services, and that lease, I believe, runs out this month, and they're anxious to get started there, because technically they wouldn't be in, they would be in violation of our zoning if they didn't, until they get it rezoned. So, but hopefully they could make that request next week at the second one, and you could consider that request to waive the third and final, which we've done from time to time on non-controversial items.
All the inspections were done on that remodel?
Yes, it was actually nothing that, it was very, very minimal, just moving an outlet here, moving an outlet there, because there was a lot of, we're working with them on a future project. They brought an engineer to shore up some of the roof. So there's very little that had to be done, cleaning stuff out, but, so.
Okay. So a motion by Nathan, a second by Matt. This is a roll call vote. Nathan?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Scott? Aye. And I will, okay, the public hearing is now closed. Discussion of possible action to approve an ordinance rezoning block approximately 1.16 acres of property located in Sweden Township from C1 commercial to R1 residential district on the first of three readings. I have a motion by Matt, second by Nathan. This is a roll, any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Matt?
Aye.
Nathan?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
I vote aye. Scott? Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Item number 7 is an update from the Friends of the Old Barn fundraising efforts with Paul Carroll and Shelley Baderi. Good morning.
Good morning. I plan to be the only one speaking today, Shelley Mahary, unless there is a need to call upon other members of Friends of the Old Barn.
If I could say real quick, we just had Shelley step forward to be our executive director, and of course we unanimously voted her to do that. So now she's the go-to person with the county staff and our community, and that's why she's speaking today.
Great.
Good morning. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to come and speak with you on behalf of Friends of the Old Barn. My name is Shelley Meharry. I am a volunteer and a fifth-generation Muscatine County resident. I want to make sure that everyone is clear that I am Associate Director of the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine. However, my role here today is completely separate from my work at the Community Foundation, and I just want to make sure that I've made that very clear. I'm volunteering my time on behalf of Friends of the Old Barn today. Sorry, another clicker. Aha. Complicated technology. My 14-year-old should be here. He would be able to help me a great deal. So first off, I'd like to thank the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors for allowing Friends of the Old Barn to be the caretaker of this beautiful structure for nearly the past 12 years. The Friends of the Old Barn are a group of volunteers who have put their time and energy into preserving the barn and sharing our agricultural heritage with our community. A special thank you to the Friends of the Old Barn who have worked so hard over the past several years to save this important structure. At the last meeting, Friends of the Old Barn was asked to give an update on the financial position of Friends of the Old Barn. I've provided all of you with a packet of information that you don't need to go through now, but it's just a summary of the full accounting of the funds that are held at the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine and a bank account that's held at CBI Bank and Trust. So Friends of the Old Barn has a charitable fund at the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine. The balance is $755.56. I provided you with a full accounting of all the activity in that fund since its inception in 2006. This fund's purpose is to create a vehicle for charitable giving to support the operations of the Old Barn. Friends of the Old Barn. Donations are accepted to this fund, and then as expenditures happen in support of the operations of Friends of the Old Barn, they're then administered on behalf of the organization from the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine. The next fund is the Old Barn Maintenance Endowment Fund. The current balance is $300.06. You'll also have a full accounting of this fund, which was created in 2009 to present. An endowment fund is a special vehicle in which assets are preserved for the long-term support and operation of an organization or a nonprofit organization. Assets are preserved in an endowment fund, and then the only spending from an endowment fund is a 5% spending grant that is administered in accordance to the fund agreement. So however the fund is to be operated is how the grant comes back. So many organizations have an endowment fund, and they use their endowment fund, that 5% spending grant, to support ongoing operations of the nonprofit organization. And then the next fund is the CBI Bank and Trust checking account, which the most recent statement that I received, remember I've been a volunteer for just a week, is a statement that's as of December 6th, 2016, and that accounting shows $416.69. I have advised the Friends of the Old Barn that I recommend that they close that CBI bank account and transfer all assets to that Friends of the Old Barn charitable fund. That way, all funds would be administered through the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine.
Shelley, quick, the 5%, is that 5% annually?
That's right. 5% is a standard in philanthropy of charitable giving for a grant from an endowment fund.
Thank you.
So I'm here today to talk with you about a vision for the future for the Old Barn and the site where the Old Barn is. The goals are to celebrate Muscatine County's agricultural heritage and preserve our historic poor farm icon. We wish to work collaboratively with multidisciplinary teams to do great work in Muscatine County. We want to create new and unique attractions and tourism opportunity for Muscatine County. We want to support Muscatine County small businesses. We wish to strengthen Friends of the Old Barn to support the long-term maintenance and operations of the barn and create a legacy for our children and grandchildren to enjoy. Now, when you think of an old barn or activities happening in an old barn, you might think of livestock, small children coming, learning about farm operations, learning about farm life, and learning about time gone by agricultural practices. Well, there is certainly a place for all those activities in the barn, but we have a broader vision for our barn. We see our barn being a place for concerts, symphonies, and other performances. The organization, the performance on the left of your screen, that is the Preservation Hall Jazz Band from New Orleans. If you'll recall, I believe they performed in Muscatine a few years ago, as well as provided a wonderful inaugural opening concert for Hancher Auditorium. Concerts of this venue could be housed with the old barn and the site around the old barn. On the right, you'll see a photo of a quartet playing in a barn. I know that my photos might be a little grainy and it might be a little hard to see the details, but I would be happy to give the actual presentation slideshow to all of you so you could see the images in high def. The barn could be a catalyst for ballet performances. This is a few slides of some organizations, some cities who have live ballet performances. And as we were brainstorming ideas of things that we could do, we came across with this book called Ballet in the Barn. Brainstorming ideas of how can we connect our library and our children to arts and culture opportunities that surround the barn and its history there. Opportunities also exist for live theater performances. Shakespeare in the Park, if any of you are familiar with Iowa City, Riverside Theater in Iowa City offers Shakespeare in the Park and City Park annually. It's a wonderful concert series and is supported by members of the public every year. The top right-hand photo is essentially it's a community movie night. Our organization envisions that a family movie night could be broadcast onto the barn or near that barn area, and families could come and picnic and enjoy not only the barn site, but also that beautiful area that's just north of the barn where the pond is. We envision families coming together to utilize this space in concert with Discovery Park and the old barn site. The barn can become a place for celebration, for weddings, anniversary parties, class reunions, corporate events, and fundraisers. The images show just some details of possible setups of how this looks, how the setup of events might look. The barn could offer seating inside and outside. Now, if any of you have ever been involved in a wedding, you know there are many moving parts, or involved in a fundraiser or planning a corporate event. There are many opportunities here that exist to support small businesses in Muscatine County. We could have a farmer's market at the barn, a place where it would connect farming and the barn with really important support for small business, small farmers, small business owners. On the right there, you can see some people enjoying a plant sale. I could see our FFA plant sale happening at the barn as well. This is an example of some fall festivals that take place, utilizing a background of a barn. And on the right is a farmer's market. And you can see the vendors all lined up to sell their wares there. I'd like to introduce you to Jessica Meyer and Dawn Schmidt. These are two women who live in Muscatine County who have a true entrepreneurial spirit. They, on their own, created what's known as the Good Makers Market. On their own, they rented this barn on the top far left side. You'll see it's called the Barn at Bunker Hill. On their own, they created this Good Makers Market. They rented the barn space, they hired vendors to come and sell wares, and they had live performances as well. The picture that's on the far right, which you can't see very well, you'll see men on a flatbed. They're performing live music. So I illustrate this because it doesn't take much to create this wonderful event that the women put on. This event was so successful. These women, you can see on the left, are in shock by the picture of how successful their event is. The people are lined up to pay admission to get into the event, plus the vendors paid money thank you very much. The vendors paid to be able to even be in the event to sell items. It was so very successful that the women are doing this again. They are having their next Good Makers Market Memorial Day weekend. Now, interestingly, I'm told that to rent the barn at Bunker Hill for a wedding, the wedding rental costs $4,000. You can see how this could be a revenue-generating enterprise for Friends of the Old Barn. We could have wine tasting events and beer tasting events at the Old Barn. We have many wonderful Iowa wineries, some very close to right in Muscatine County. Plus, we now have our own brewing location in Muscatine County as well. So you can see how this could create wonderful events that would add to Muscatine County. The barn will create a place for community. Events like farm-to-table dinners could happen at the barn. You'll notice the picture in the center that these farm-to-table dinners, individuals buy a ticket to the event and you get your meal, but you sit communally at a community table. The picture on the far right shows the event happening inside a barn, but the picture on the far left shows just how simply seating can happen on the old barn site. There's just some hay bales and a piece of wood, and we call it good. The old barn can also connect us with some new friends that we've been able to establish with China. When visitors from China come to Muscatine, they're interested in the history. They're interested in our farming culture, and they're interested in the past. These pictures show guests who visited Muscatine last November. Because it was in the fall, they were able to join the fall harvest. And they visited, they learned about riding on a combine, they learned about how the corn was picked, and just had a wonderful opportunity celebrating what makes Muscatine special and what Muscatine County is special. The photo in the center shows Governor Branstad, who was just visiting Muscatine. Muscatine celebrated Governor Branstad's nomination to be the ambassador to China. I had the personal opportunity of driving Governor Branstad from the event back to the airport. He was so thankful of the people of Muscatine for how they fostered his relationship with China, how we were so open and welcoming to his delegation that came 25 years ago. He was so complimentary of Muscatine. The old barn can become an anchor for great things to happen that will benefit Muscatine County residents. We'll be creating opportunities to have a positive economic impact on our county. We'll enhance quality of life through the addition of arts, culture, and recreational activities, and ensure that the barn remains an icon of our agricultural past for generations to come. We've worked very quickly over the last week. I've had positive and helpful communication with Muscatine County Administrative Staff Sherry Seawright, helping me as a volunteer understand the complexities of the issue at hand. We've identified opportunities for collaboration with Muscatine County Historic Preservation Commission, the City of Muscatine's Historic Preservation Commission, and Friends of Muscatine Historic Preservation. We are all groups working for a common good. Let's pull together and collect our efforts together. I phoned Kurt Weiss to discuss how Friends of the Old Barn wishes to work together with Muscatine County Conservation to enhance the visitor experience at the Discovery Park. I know that Mr. Weiss is out of the office until March 2nd, but I look forward to being able to introduce myself to him about and share our ideas. We've held discussions with the Greater Muscatine Chamber of Commerce and Industry and Convention and Visitors Bureau staff to brainstorm usage ideas for the old barn. The images that I showed you earlier of possible options for usage of the barn came from a collective conversation. We had a meeting with the City of Muscatine staff, City Administrator Greg Monsager, David Gobin, Andrew Fangman, Michael Stenslin, and Jody Hansen. Would you like me to explain their roles, or do you know all of them? Explain their roles? Yes or no? No, we're good? I'm sorry, I just wanted to be clear. Great. They represent a multidisciplinary team from the city, each having their own unique perspective to give guidance on the potential project. Everyone worked collaboratively together, and we left the meeting feeling very positive about the opportunities that are potential for us in Muscatine County. The city has offered to assemble a team to help Friends of the Old Barn understand code requirements and ensure insurability and public safety. The discussion was also had about a CAT grant. This is a grant called Community Attraction and Tourism Grant Funding from the state of Iowa. This would support our vision for creating the barn as an additional resource for Muscatine County in terms of attraction and tourism. It was noted that these grants are most successful when the public can show support for a project like this. We think that this project with the old barn and site is ripe for that support. We also learned from city staff about plans to expand the Muscatine bike trail system, possibly connecting the Agricultural Learning Center with the old barn and Discovery Park area. The conversation was had that this park bike trail system has really already been planned, but the city wants to look at revising the plan to see how we can make the connection between the Ag Learning Center and the old barn, really being strategic about our connections that we're making on the bike path. We're creating partnerships to be a contributing asset to the Discovery Park Conservation Area and being considerate to being a good neighbor to the residents of Harmony Lane. We want to be able to allow the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors to focus on other important issues impacting the residents of Muscatine County. And because Friends of the Old Barn operates under a nonprofit financial model, net income generated will be reinvested into preserving the barn and general upkeep, investing in programming and services at the barn, and maintaining the grounds of the barn to complement the beauty of Discovery Park. We respectfully ask the County Board of Supervisors to consider the following: to donate or transfer ownership of the old barn, cottage, and a metal outbuilding on the property to Friends of the Old Barn, a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. The transfer will reassure Muscatine County residents that their barn will be saved from demolition now and in the future. It removes all liability and upkeep concerns for the structures from the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors to the Friends of the Old Barn. Friends of the Old Barn wishes to establish a new lease agreement for the use of the land around the site with Muscatine County, with considerations for those expanded usage opportunities for the barn and the adjacent structures. Transferring ownership to the nonprofit will also allow Friends of the Old Barn to apply for historic property rehabilitation tax credits. These are tax credits at 25% state and 20% federal for costs of improvements of the barn and potentially the cottage, depending on the age of the cottage. This will allow Friends of the Old Barn to recoup, once the tax credits are processed through the state, to recoup 45% potentially of the overall cost of improvements that are needed to the barn. That will put monies right back into Friends of the Old Barn for programming and upkeep and beautification of the space where the barn exists. These improvements will include fire escapes, fire suppression systems, lighting, structural supports, and any other large-scale maintenance costs that would be involved. Why include the cottage? We've been talking about the old barn, but why include this cottage that's also on the site? Donors to Friends of the Old Barn provided funds for the handicap accessible ramp, bathroom improvements, roof, electrical updates, new carpeting, and other improvements in the general area of 2012, 2013, and 2014. These are some pictures of the cottage site and that handicap accessible bathroom. We know that there are some cottage maintenance issues. So if you look at the picture on the left, that shows a crack running along the foundation of the basement of the cottage. The squares that are on the wall is duct tape on the wall. That duct tape was placed there 3 years ago to monitor the crack in the wall to see if it got worse. We see that the crack in the wall has not gotten worse since a new roof and gutter system was placed on the roof by Friends of the Old Barn to mitigate water coming around the cottage site. The photo on the left shows what might be some mold in the interior of the basement. This is actually an interior wall, which is drywall, and if you knock on it, there's nothing behind it, so it would be an easy removal to do. These are some photos of the interior of the cottage. You can see a kitchen space here, plus the bathroom again, and then the living room sort of functions as sort of office space. Now, I will tell you personally that my husband and I have rehabilitated 2 homes in Muscatine, plus we recently bought a historic building in downtown Muscatine. I can tell you personally that this building is in much finer condition than many of the rental units that are being offered to residents of Muscatine County right now. It would be very sad, in my own personal opinion, to see this torn down. Our vision for the future of the cottage. The cottage could provide catering and prep kitchen for events held at the old barn. Also, a small-scale cafe with picnic items and grab-and-go self-serve items could serve guests of the old barn and Discovery Park Pond area. So families coming out on a beautiful day who happen to be there around lunch could grab a quick bite and enjoy a picnic around the pond. Also, I would see employees of Muscatine Power and Water coming across the street, grabbing a little bit of lunch, and enjoying some time outside. This opportunity also creates an opportunity for partnership with an organization serving special needs. If you are familiar with the Snackers organization that existed downtown, this could be a potential opportunity to offer some employment and skill building for individuals with special needs. Why include the outbuilding? So this is just a kind of a gray garage building. You'll notice its proximity to the old barn. You can see the old barn on the right, kind of in the foreground. This would allow Friends of Muscatine Historic Preservation to operate an architectural salvage barn on the site. Muscatine County residents would have a place to donate historic doors, windows, light fixtures for resale. Preserving these historic artifacts would keep them out of our landfills. Proceeds from sales from the salvage barn will support historic preservation activities throughout Muscatine County. This is a quick image of some of the items that would be available for resale. Old doors, windows, those corbels, lights, doorknobs, and iron items for old fencing. I happen to know that Friends of the Old Barn would be willing and able to start putting inventory in that barn right away. It's currently housed in my garage. That's how I know this. I haven't been able to park in my own garage for 3 years because it's filled with items just like this. Also on the site is a historic fruit cellar, and we envision a community garden. This historic fruit cellar is really a unique icon because it connects the past with how farm families were able to grow all their fruit, all their food, all their produce, and save it to last throughout the whole year. The photo on the right shows sort of an empty green space right next to the cellar, but you can see its proximity to the proposed salvage barn, and then in the foreground you'll see the actual barn. I think this would be a wonderful partnership opportunity with our robust Iowa State Extension Master Gardener program to provide education and resources to individuals who are interested in master gardening. There is still much work ahead of us. No one is wearing rose-colored glasses saying that this is going to be an easy endeavor or it will be a one-and-done sort of proposition. Friends of the Old Barn has been given 30 days to develop a plan for restoring electrical and sewer and water service to the cottage and the barn. We are hoping to create unique opportunities for partnership. We ask the Board of Supervisors to continue to allow us to work collaboratively so that we can come up with the most cost-effective reestablishment of these services to the barn and cottage. Because of the proximity of the barn to Muscatine Power and Water, we see opportunities to add solar energy and wind energy, perhaps even making this a site for clean energy science education and a demonstration site for the public to understand more about wind and solar energy. So a quick mention about fundraising. So the Community Foundation of Greater Muscatine ensures that funds raised by Friends of the Old Barn will be administered under strict gift acceptance policies and procedures. Donors can give with confidence knowing that their gifts will be used only as intended by the fund. The Community Foundation also has the unique ability to accept complex gift donations such as farmland, bequest, real estate planning, stock transfers, gifts of grain, and even livestock. I have a personal interest in something that's called the transfer of wealth. Transfer of wealth study shows how from one generation to another, whether collective wealth in the state of Iowa remains here or if it gets transferred out. And this particular study shows that Iowa is amongst the worst in the nation for when grandparents and parents pass away, their children transfer wealth and assets out of Iowa. I would love to see this as an opportunity for us to recapture, as a Muscatine County, try to recapture some of that into a project that benefits all of Muscatine County residents. So we're creating our legacy. You know, I think the statement, we don't realize the treasure we had until it's gone, has really awoken the public to what might happen if we don't have our barn. This is a beautiful photo showing the beautiful site and how there are opportunities for us to work collectively to preserve this beautiful site and make it a wonderful resource for all of Muscatine County residents. And all of the ideas that I have shared with you today we're proposing at no cost to Muscatine County taxpayers. Now, next steps. My name and email and phone number is here. I wish to continue to volunteer to offer guidance and support to this effort, serve as a primary point of contact and spokesperson on behalf of Friends of the Old Barn. I can tell you that we have received a great interest in wanting media to be up to date on how the activities of the Old Barn are happening. In particular, Fran Riley from Channel 6 will be coming to Muscatine to do a story about the Old Barn, and that's taking place on April 11th. I would want nothing more than to be able to articulate to him and all interested parties in Muscatine County how we were able to all work together to create our legacy, something great to benefit residents of Muscatine County now and long, long into the future. I'll also support Friends of the Old Barn Board of Directors by offering how we can strategically add board positions to support fundraising, event planning, code compliance, public relations, and marketing. So the picture up there on the right shows me with some corn. And I put this here to remind myself of the value of my own farm background. My family is a 6th-generation farm family living in rural Muscatine County. Those kernels of corn allowed a world of opportunity for me. I was able to go to college, to the University of Iowa, because my dad would sell a load of corn to pay my tuition, or he would sell a load of hogs to pay my tuition. I'm volunteering because I feel passionate about my county, and I feel very passionate about wanting to create opportunities for young people, young professionals, to want to live and reside in Muscatine County because we have these wonderful amenities and attractions that draw younger populations to Muscatine County. Thank you for allowing me to share our vision on behalf of Friends of the Old Barn. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And also other members of Friends of the Old Barn are also here to answer questions. Thank you very much.
It's a very nice presentation, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Might consider it a home run.
Thank you, Mr. Howard.
Any discussion, any questions? Have you had any success, or have you begun looking at any of the potential issues, or?
Yeah, we've contacted some supporters that, contractors, so, and some of them are willing to do the labor in kind. We pay for the materials. So it really just comes down to, you know, rehooking up the power, which is really right close by. The water issue and sewer issue could be as simple as tapping into lines that are existing there, but that doesn't really fit your long-range plan or the pumping station. Certainly, we could go back in there and put in, those pumps that I understand have been removed. If there wasn't an urgency to tear out the lift station, we could go back in with appropriate sized pumps that we can afford. We've had donors step up and say, tell us what you need. We don't have checks in hand yet because it's too soon. But
Probably don't really know what you need yet, right?
well, but it isn't going to be extraordinarily expensive, even if we choose to run new water lines out to the end of Harmony Lane, and even if we have to install our own sewer line with a residential sized pump station, it's not going to be prohibitive, but it's going to take some money. So that's about, you asked to come back with a report, and that's about where we're at. But the fun thing is, the way people have jumped on this to want to support us is just unbelievable. The Associated Press picked up this story and passed it around. We're on the website for U.S. News and World Report. How cool is that when we're trying to build a tourism industry in Muscatine? I mean, this has been a wild week and extraordinarily fun, and the people that want to come out and get involved has been really positive. And then you have somebody extraordinary like Shelley that steps up and says, I'll lend my organizational skills to help you guys build capacity. So we are doing cartwheels.
Great. Good to
So
see.
we've got this short-term issue that we've got to get taken care of, and so we'll be back next week probably with our hard numbers. But then we want to really look at the vision in the long range and see, what this land use could be and how does that fit in to complement things that are already there. And we know these are big issues that aren't decided in a very, very short timetable. But
Yeah, and I know you talked in there, a couple of requests on the facilities and that. And I think what we'll have to do is talk with, because I think all along this board's intention is to turn that entire property over to the conservation board. That's really what we looked at selling the land. We thought it was the best interest of the county taxpayer. The value we were able to extract wasn't worth what we had there. We felt we had as an addition to the park. So we want to maintain that as a part of the park. And the conservation board really becomes the decision makers in most of what happens on the, I guess ultimately we're always responsible, but I think we want to think through how all of that works. There's
You've
nothing.
got several issues, that's one.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I think that folks in our department here to make sure that they get you the information you need to bring forth to your people that want to do the fundraising, but these are the issues, because I'm not sure that the issues that keep sprouting up, seems like every time we get together, I don't know that we got a total picture, and I don't know that it's been shared with you folks.
Oh, no, Sherry's been great to talk and the
But it
folks.
just keeps coming, the shortfalls keep coming.
Your staff was out there Wednesday when several of us were out there.
Okay.
And, you know, Oscar was there too. And so your staff has been spectacular to help us work with. And so we just, I guess to make a comment to you, Jeff, is there anything that was envisioned in how the Conservation Board had envisioned to use this property that is in direct conflict with some more extended use of this property?
No, I think-
No matter who controls it.
I think from the Conservation Board, you know, I would just say a couple of comments that I've heard from Kurt. You know, because we have some, all that roadway down there along the end connecting the neighborhoods, that's all county, that's really county roads. And so Kurt's plan was to put barricades there and not open them in the winter, because he doesn't want to have to maintain all that. And, you know, so some of those kind of, and that could affect the usage of the property.
Of course.
So the city streets really just dead end. And then that's a county road, you know, a private
Right.
road, that
Sure.
is
Our-
our property.
Our thought is, in working with the county conservation, is to evaluate that strategic plan. What is the value to the park, to that area, to add a few acres of green space versus adding all of these amenities that I expressed to you that would add value, not only to the barn site, but I'm really looking at this as an extension of the visitors, our Muscatine County residents' experience to that area. I see it as a fluid place, a wonderful place for all of our Muscatine County residents to
You can
enjoy.
see some real opportunity to partner with conservation in the massive program that
Right.
they do.
Right.
To get more people to discover the
And
park, which is
I'll
really
also
cool.
say,
It really
as
can
a,
complement.
I'll also say as a parent, there is no finer programming on conservation than the youth programming that the conservation does. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, I've been on the board 6 years, a little over. Never seen this type of presentation given to us in the detail that it's given to us.
Yeah.
And that's why I said what I did earlier. This is excellent, but it gives a whole new perspective to how we view the area and how county residents would view the area and the potential of it. My thought is that people need to step back a little bit and reevaluate what we have and what the purpose is. And then, not to be negative, but you can give a brilliant proposal like this, mission, ideas, thoughts, but then you gotta have the dollars, and you gotta have, even more than that, you gotta have the people, and it looks like you do, that wanna take an interest in it. It's just like our Historic Preservation Society, it just flipped overnight. And I see the same thing potentially
Oh, it's-
happening here,
and-
and that's a great value.
It all goes hand in glove.
So
I mean,
the addition that I would say is having the opportunity to get interested parties together to create a strategic plan for that resource there. To, as I mentioned, the city and their bike trail system, you can see how all of these things are connected. Let's get the groups together, the conservation groups, our preservation group, representatives from the city together. This is a perfect opportunity to show that we are committed to work together to make Muscatine County a great place to live, work, and raise a family.
Yeah, we have a lot of investment going on in Discovery Park, and we have it in Deep Lakes, and these are tremendous assets in this community. And it would really be nice so we get the young people wanting to live in their small towns again, instead of moving to Iowa City. You know, what is it, 6,000 people a day that travel into Muscatine County to work? We'd like to have those be Muscatine County residents instead of another county.
And I can personally say I am a spokesperson for just that. I'm a Muscatine County resident, farm girl, and I brought my husband from Iowa City to Muscatine, who is graciously here to support me. So, thank you.
Best move you ever made, I hope that's what you're gonna say.
One thing I would encourage you guys to think about is how you can maximize the use of that site, and if that site itself is ultimately the best for you. I mean, there's I think 19 spots at that little parking lot there by the pond, another 18 across the pond. And
Yeah.
for the kind of events you're talking about, that's gonna be insufficient most likely, so you're gonna want to address that.
Exactly. So again, no rose-colored glasses here. We know that there is a lot of issues to work out, but we envision that a lot of activity happening on this site would be taking place nights and weekends. We have the potential for partnerships again. This has to be a community all in or it won't work kind of proposition. Muscatine Power and Water has a parking lot available across the street. We have the Muscatine High School as well, that's close by. So I offer this as possible opportunities. If we had a great event, we could offer a shuttle service for parking.
Yeah, long-range planning.
Right, exactly. And again, I'm one person trying to articulate on behalf of many, many others the vision that I see and the potential that I see in Muscatine County. I need your help, though. I need your help. I need the city's help. I need our volunteers' help, because it's worth it.
Yeah, I was encouraged to see the city, getting the city planning and zoning and environmental, because they'll be key to a lot of things.
This project ticks off a lot of boxes that they're wanting to address.
Right, absolutely. Good. Good. Any other questions? Thanks very much.
Thank you very
for making
much.
time today.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 8 is discussion and possible action to approve minutes from February 20, 2017. Motion by Bob, second by Matt. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Honestly, thank you.
Okay, item number 9 is correspondence. Nancy, did you have anything?
I do not.
Matt, did you have?
Nothing.
Scott?
I just had a few more conversations in regard to the barn, is all I had.
I had a few conversations on the barn as well. I also, on the 23rd, Senator Ernst was in town, and she was visiting Carver Pump. I was out there with representatives from the news media, so I'm sure Emily will write up a nice review. I don't know, I haven't seen it yet in the paper. Coming? Or did you? I missed it? Whoops. Oh, that must be sliding. Okay. Nathan?
I just had a couple more emails on the barn.
Well, I was kind of loaded with the old barn, but I think it's because of my age, maybe a little bit.
I'll make a comment, but we'll leave it.
Right.
Okay.
I left it out there for you.
Committee report, Bob, did you have any?
I had Veterans Affairs on Tuesday the 21st, and they relocated the vehicle for transport of people back towards Iowa City to back down to Wapello because they could not get drivers. Now, if you think here in the community, if there's someone that would like to be involved with driving folks back and forth for Veterans Affairs to Iowa City, please contact them and let them know that you're available, and maybe there's still an opportunity there, but it's been hard to fill that position.
Has there been any talk about the legislation? I saw the
Oh, yeah.
Veterans Affairs Commissions, there's another push at the state, this whole segregation idea.
Yeah.
And, I mean,
We actually discussed that Tuesday.
is that something the commission feels that we should be talking to our,
Well, they're
allegation about-
definitely biased because they feel that the relationship and the connection that they've had with the county here in Muscatine has worked excellent. And they really don't want to lose that. But that's what they'll lose because they'll be, basically have total autonomy if that goes
so,
through.
so for those listening and some that may not recall some of our struggles over the years, the county, we put that under Community Services and Mike Johansson's group. And the advantage that the Muscatine County residents and the veterans have gotten is that, you know, we have funding for one position, we have for Jen. But Jen can't do everything, so Mike can flex his staff as needed to handle phone calls, administrative duties and things that we don't have to pay out of our veterans funding. And if that goes away, that ability to flex, the veterans group will lose. And I think our local group understands that. So I think we need to, maybe all of us make a call to our legislators and encourage them to think through this. It's not a matter of control, it's a matter of being able to flex resources to where they're needed.
That's true, but you gotta also look at, I hate to say this, but I think it's one of those little catch-22s where be careful what you wish for, because they were having issues with some of the counties, which I will leave unnamed.
Yeah.
And because of that, that's why this whole thing come about, was because some of the conjunctional working parties like we've got here, it wasn't working so well. It was actually hurting the vets. So